I just want to show you guys what's possible with Scythe right now. To open it, it's an editor mode, so you just select it like this. And then here's your selection tools here, and selection modifiers, as well as some extra settings. These are basically two groups of tools here. These are your selection tools, and they'll show up as you they'll show up contextually as you have like things selected. And then here's your creation tools. I call them block tools right now, but you can, your bread and butter is going to be add block and add rectangle. So I'll show you how to add a block right now. And you can see when you drag out, you can see the sizes of your blocks. So this is 500 by 500. And then you can add to it like that. You can hold down Control, and when I hit Control like this, it flips it up. So then I can kind of make like a wall of some sort. And then if I hit Shift, it'll match the normal, like so. And you might be wondering, well, why is it this size? Why is it like jumping out like that? It's because of it's the grid size. So if I were to lower my grid, you can see like it changes based off my grid. So my grid is just 5, so this will be sticking out about 5 right there. It'll be about 5 height right there. So if I hit enter, those are made. And where do they go? Since my map that we're working on is E1M5, it goes into E1M5_geo. So that's everything we just made. Save all there. Show you the rectangle tool. And rectangle tool is basically, it just makes quads or planes. So one-sided. And Unreal has no idea what a quad is. It just knows what rectangles are, but Unreal has basically their own quads called polygroups. So you'll hear me call things quads. I'm just really talking about it being a polygroup. So this is actually what you're making here. Like that's what it looks like. 2 triangles. And so you can do the same thing that I was talking about with that by holding down Control here. So it's got the same kind of stuff. And I made just a plain wall. And Shift works too. You can do that. And then I'm gonna make another block here. Just a normal block. So here's your selection tools here. This is selecting vertices, edges, faces, and these are your basically, I call it object mode. It's Unreal's just normal object mode, so you can just move things around as you normally do in the editor. So the hotkeys are 1, 2, and 3 for these. These over here, these are for triangles. You're not really going to be using these so much. You're going to really want to be using these polygroup or quad selections instead, but you can kind of see, if I do the triangle face, I can select faces of triangles. So we'll go back to polygroups right now, or quads. Get this face selected. I can move this, and I can see how big it's going to be. I can get my grid a little smaller. You can see how big this is going to be. It's going to be, 180, 190, If I undo that, if I hold down Shift and drag this, I can extrude. And you'll notice the measurements too, like 100 by 100 is my selection there. If I were to click this here, select all elements, or hit Control A, it'll select everything, and it'll show me the measurements of my selection too. So if I were to do this and select these 2 things, I'm selecting 100 by 100 by 80 here. Or just select that, 80, 80. If I go into edge mode, I can just hover over things to see the size of them. That's a really big thing. That's huge with level design, because Scythe is basically Unreal Engine's modeling tools rebuilt from the ground up to have for level design, basically. So anything modeling tools has, this thing is going to have if it's relevant to level design, and it should be a little bit better for level design. Let's see, so let's go over more selection stuff. So if I select edges here, or two, if I select two edges, and then I hit connect, or V, it'll make a new edge between them. And it's pre-selected, so then I can move it around. And you may notice that as I move things around, the UVs are getting all messed up, the textures are stretching and stuff like that. That's something that I want to work on in the future. That's just one of the bad things about Scythe right now, is that it moves your UVs when you move geo. So you generally want to make your geo first and then start doing like texturing. Let's see, so I'm gonna undo all that. So select that. You can select, 3, hit V or connect. It'll do it for that, just like that. So I'm gonna undo that. Do something cool. And I'm showing you guys this because this is bread and butter stuff. If I select the ring, which is this here, or hit X, it's gonna select the ring around the entire mesh here. And so what's that good for? Well, if I connect them at that point, now I just made an edge loop. And then I can move that around. And then I can do the same thing. So now I'm hitting hotkeys. I'm hitting X, hitting V, X, V, X, V, X, V. So you can see how like powerful this is, and can really start flying doing that stuff instead of having to go over here and click things and going through a whole detail panel of like how I want it to be. It's just extremely fast. Let's see, so there's some various tools here. I'm not sure if I'm going to go through all of these, but I'm just, delete is obvious. We'll delete the face. And these are just contextually for the face selection. If I go over here, you'll notice everything changes. But like let's see, I'll just show. I can do detach here, and then I'll detach that face. I can let's do this and I'll do this. Do this, and I'll just expand this to just one face over. So just this little top box is connected. I'm going to click extract, which will extract the selected faces into their own mesh. And then now I have two meshes here. I can show you what I just made. Just made that into its own mesh. And then if I wanted to recombine these things, I would select them both in object mode and merge meshes. Now they're back together. We got extrude, which is, you can use this if you want. It's just a kind of a slower way of doing things. You'd much rather just hold shift and move it. We got offset, which just kind of makes it grow a little bit. It's good for trims and stuff. We have clean. Clean is pretty important as of right now because things get a little weird. Let's go into lit mode here. You'll notice this lighting on these walls is a little weird. You just need to select it, hit clean, and it just does that because it's a bug. So if you see weird looking lighting and stuff, this is the reason. When you flip it up like that and do that, I'm like not calculating the normals properly or something, so I'll fix that. unlit here. Yeah, and also it retriangulates the mesh. So if you're like, if you've made just a lot of sins with your mesh, then you clean it and it'll retriangulate, and you can kind of see your triangles by like clicking this here and just seeing what you've made, what actually is, what the mesh actually looks like. We got invert. This flips the faces, so it's really useful for, you could make a very, very quick room. I select all the faces here, and then I invert them, like we just made a room. Merge, it just merges two faces into one, but it's just kind of surface level. It doesn't actually do it. It's just the poly group is merged, so it's easier to work with. Some smaller grid here. Transform texture. I'll go over that when we do texture stuff. Push-pull is really awesome. It's kind of a Boolean extrusion. So when I do a push-pull through this thing here, it actually removes a bunch of stuff and connects them properly. Really cool tool. Inset. You're gonna notice this kind of looks weird. It's got this yellow like flickering thing right now. I'm gonna fix that. It's just one of those things. But this also is on the grid. So I can snap that there, and there we go. We just made a 10 unit inset. Outset, same thing. I don't need to explain that. Cut. You can, this is also on the grid. So if I want to like do this, I'll make a cut there. Bevel's amazing. This might look a little weird. Let's just make a new bevel. So you can bevel a face, and it'll do all the corners, or you can just bevel. This is the equivalent of selecting the face. Bevel. Yeah, that's great. All right, so that's what you're going to be. You're going to be using that stuff a lot. Here's some edge stuff. Merge to, or fill hole, or bridge. I should go over the extrude thing. So you can only extrude these dashed lines here. Dashed lines means it's the boundary of the mesh. So I wouldn't be able to edge extrude right there. I would only be able to do it there. So if I hit this or hit Shift D, because I can't shift extrude yet. That's something that's coming in the future. It's weird. But basically if I do that, yeah, this is Modeling Tools version of it. I don't really love it. It's kind of strange. But you'll probably be using this a pretty fair amount. Maybe it'll look better over here. Grab that, Shift E, and there you go. It's it works, but it's not great right now. So that's something that just is missing. It's not great. We'll get there. You got your cylinders. That's what I was like, why did that look so strange? There you go. There's a normal cylinder. And then we'll do some texturing here. I'll just go over this real quick here. Texel density. This is your texel density setting right here. So 1 meter is 128 pixels for me. That's what I currently work with. You'll probably be bigger. But I'm gonna select all the faces here and select one, hit Control A, and then apply material or hit Shift T. And then I have this little material here that's 128 by 128 pixels. And so the texture itself is 128 by 128. And this thing knows to fill this thing, throw it on here just to really drive this home here. So 1 meter is 128 pixels. This cube is 1 meter. This is 2 meters. So because I have this set to 1 meter is 128 pixels, and this is 2 meters here, this is 128 pixels, and this is 128 pixels over here. So does that make sense? I'll make this 256 here, and if I add it to this, and add it to this, I hope that makes sense. If I do a 64, and a 64, that should make sense to you, I think. So try to think about this when you're doing your texturing, because it'll save you a ton of time. It'll basically set the size of what the texture should be when you apply it and when you hit align to grid. So I'm gonna show you some texture manipulation here. So if I just select one face here, I can shift these things around like this. You can also do Alt and, gotta keep your mouse in the viewport. Alt and the arrow keys. And you can do that real quick. You can scale it, you can rotate it. The rotation goes off of this here. So if I set that 45, let me reset this. If I set this 45, I'll move 45 at a time. There's fit. That's great. Justify. Justify basically will, take this and shove it to the left side if I click justify left. And we'll do the same for the right, and top and bottom. Top and bottom don't do anything. Center, justify center. There's something kind of cool here. It's a little strange. So let's say this is a wall here. If I do fit to face height, it'll do that. You don't really want that. But if you, it's normal. Yeah, let me use a wall texture. And I'll give this kind of a more normal size. We'll just do 350. That. Get rid of that guy. That was actually way too good. It's just a wall. Give me a wall. Okay, this is good. This is good. Okay. So let's say I want to stretch this wall up to the top, but if I do it this way, stretch this here, well, it's just stretching it vertically. It's not stretching it like equally horizontally. So if I do keep ratio and then I do that, well, now it stretches it perfectly. And I'll kind of show this. By the way, this is something that sucks. It's like when you move this geo, it's like it's stretching everything. So yeah, I'll get that fixed. By the way, I'm clicking this. I'm hitting Control A and then I'm hitting Align to Grid, Control Shift G constantly to kind of reset the textures to default, kind of world align. Because when you click this, it's basically a world align material. That's like what it acts like, except it isn't a special material. This is my material, very basic. So it does world align without needing any special stuff. So click that, do that, look at that, perfect wall, a perfect wall. And then if I were to, chop this up a little bit, and then let's align the grid again, and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want to do that for that wall. It's like, oh, that doesn't look right. What's going on? It's because it's doing this for each face separately. So I'm going to reset that. I'm going to treat as one, and then, oops, I have too much selected. We'll do that. We will treat as one, and look at that. They're both done. Beautiful. Love it. And then there's other stuff here, like there's transform texture, and that lets you kind of move the texture around like this. It's fun. It lets you kind of move and stretch and stuff, and do a rotation, move around. It's fine. It's useful for certain aspects. You can lift texture. So if I want to go over here and I want to lift this texture up and I want to put it here. I want to put it in my active material. You hold Shift, right click, now it's active. And these Scythe dev textures, I have like a few of them. You can either just type in dev or you can hit Shift Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you have like different ones. So I just applied a different one to that face. I'll apply one to that face. And then if I'm like over here and I'm like, oh, I want to select all the faces that have this material on it, you click this. And just select it all. And you're like, oh, I just want to replace them all. There you go, replaced. And you may notice, like look at what happened. Like, I'm gonna undo that. See, this mesh has two materials on it. And then when I am like, oh, I want all these to be that material, it just knocked this out just to one, because there's only one material on here now. And you kind of want to not do too many materials on one mesh, because each material is another draw call, whether or not you care about that. Let's see, I'm going to show you the bad stuff now. Here's what's bad about Scythe. Here's the stuff that like sucks. So I have these two things here. And by the way, when you make a new block, it's going to just do whatever the active material is. So if I want to select this, and I want to select this, I can't. Because these are two different meshes. I can only work on one mesh at a time. Cannot do it. Can only select two meshes in object mode. And then I could merge the meshes, and then I can work on them like this, and that is basically the workaround right now. That's the workaround. It's kind of annoying. It's something that Epic is going to work on. Yeah, another thing that kind of sucks too. I have these two, so I made two planes. I'm gonna merge these together just to show you this mesh has its own border here, its own edge here, and then this one has its own edge here, so they're overlapping right here. I can't select this one's and this one's at the same time, even though I've combined these into one mesh. I can't select them both right now, so that's something I have to work on in the future. So right now you kind of have to like hope you select the right one, and then just merge those together just like that. So that's kind of annoying. You can't edit mesh pivots right now, but if you really wanted to, you can go to modeling mode and edit the pivot here and do this. There you go. So that's a quick fix if you're making a door and you really need that pivot on the corner. There's no good collision editor yet. There's no light map resolution settings. I think it's defaulted to 64. I can show you something really obnoxious with the cut tool. This cut tool, it makes this obnoxious yellow thing, but only when there's an actual material applied. For some reason, it doesn't do it when I have these kind of dev textures on, so I'll figure that out. It's a weird bug. And it's missing big features. It's missing hotspotting. That's a really big one. Wrap texture doesn't work. If you're wondering what the wrap texture is, it's like if it's a hammer thing. So it's basically alt right click. It's that equivalent. So if I have this selected and I alt right click here, this would wrap perfectly around to this side, and it currently is doing that. But if I were, basically I want to be able to do this, where I'm doing this, and then alt right click, and then this line here should, basically, it should be kind of more like that. That doesn't work. So you can alt right click all you want, but it's not going to work how you want it to. But at least it'll match, kind of drag this material onto the one that you selected, so that's kind of useful. Let's see, I think that's, I'm going to make better texturing tools too. These are kind of like okay, but we'll get there. Other than that, I think that's it. So I'll see you later.